This show contains spoilers and adult language. Listener discretion is advised.
Movies with Ron, movies with Ron.
Hell yeah, motherfucker.
Movies with Ron.
All right, hey, VHS Revival
Yeah, VHSrevival.com.
did an article on American Psycho.
Yeah.
It got me thinking about that movie and how I hate the ending with a passion.
Okay, why?
Because in the book, the ending was like, he kills these people, but everyone around him is too scared of the attention it would bring. And that's how he's safe.
Yeah.
Like, he's got all these bodies in the apartment building, and then he comes back and they're all gone. And it's because the landlord found them and cleaned it up hush hush. Because what's more important, finding the justice for those victims or, maintaining an apartment building that a serial killer did not store bodies in?
Uh-huh.
And that's how, at the end of the book, Patrick Bateman is like, still a free man.
Yeah.
Because he's protected by that Reagan era
Society.
Yeah. But in the movie doesn't know how to show you that.
Right.
So it tries to tease you with, was it all in his head?
Yeah.
I still don't know if that's its intention. To make it so it was all in its head? Or, it's up to you to decide. But it definitely doesn't end with us knowing he's an actual killer and he's a free man because of the society he's a product of.
Right.
Rick, what do you think the ending to American Psycho was, the movie?
I don't know. It was confusing. I don't know.
Yeah, at the end of the movie, he's got this narration going on.
Uh-huh.
And, I'm pretending to be a person when I'm in front of you, but in reality, I am nothing. And you're supposed to be like, well, is it because it was all in his head?
Great sweaty face, though.
I hate movies. That's it.
I'm done.
I hate movies where shit may be in someone's head.
Yeah, I mean, I think it benefits from you don't know if it's all in his head, but I think it's leaning towards that. Yeah, because if it's all in his head, the story's fucking pointless.
Yeah, man.
And I think the only way to solve that is to make American Psycho 2 and have Christian Bale play him again, and the sequel starts right after that shot of him facing the camera, saying, I am nothing.
Yeah.
It just continues from there.
Only it would be American Psycho 3.
No, we're not. We're going to pretend that one doesn't exist.
Okay, we're going to retcon it.
Yeah.
I had the same reaction to the ending of American Psycho as I did the ending of Sphere.
I can't remember Sphere.
The big gold ball.
The ball is back.
Was everybody's dreams and wishes, except they couldn't control them, and it wound up being their nightmares. Like, the whole thing was a horror film, but then at the end, they all grabbed each other's hands and wished it away.
Okay.
And a big gold ball just flew out of the ocean and into space. I was just kind of like, what?
Welcome to episode 57 of Movies with Ron, the podcast where my older brother surprises me with a movie he saw because I don't go see him anymore, and he explains the whole thing to me from beginning to end. Keep listening and you'll end up liking his versions better. It's okay if you've seen the movie. It's okay if you haven't seen it. The experience is unique, so let's get it on. I'm Chris, your MC for the time being. Across from me, our sound and sample guy, Rick.
Hey, yo.
And here he is, folks.
He's the ball cracker, death on foot. You know him, you love him. He's Ron.
Ron.
Hey, Ron.
Hey, what's up, man?
I watched Split.
Yeah.
Yeah. The dude's got multiple personalities.
Yeah.
Women, men. One of them's a child.
Right.
Hedwig
Yes.
was the kid. And he's fond of the main girl that he's got, that the other personalities are holding against her will.
Right.
And, one thing missing from the recap
Uh-huh.
that I feel compelled to acknowledge is Hedwig has this tick where he's like, he asks him a question and he's like, etc. In particular, the scene where she's trying to find his window and he's like, oh, here's my window. And it's just a drawing on the wall that he's colored in with crayons. And then he flips it up and it's just an open window, a drawing. And she's like, oh, fuck.
Right.
And he's like, did you want to leave, etc.? I couldn't get over that.
I'm sorry, I forgot about it.
Also, I saw Lego Batman. Awesome fucking movie.
Hell yeah.
I almost can't follow it with my eyes.
Yeah.
One beef, the water is not Lego. Neither are the clouds.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They kind of followed in the Lego movie.
Right.
everything is Lego.
Yeah.
Not so much in Batman.
Well, what are you going to do? You didn't have time for that shit.
All right, guys. It's that time again
All right.
for Movie Death of the Week.
All right.
All right.
Hey-yo.
This week's death comes from an action-adventure thriller, 1996's The Rock.
All right.
All right.
Directed by Michael Bay, starring Sean Connery and Nicolas Cage. The film follows a mild-mannered chemist, Nicolas Cage, and an ex-con, Connery, as they lead a counter-strike against a rogue group of military men and their general, who have taken control of Alcatraz and threatened San Francisco with a particularly nasty nerve gas attack.
All right.
The death we're going to focus on comes in the third act of the film, when Cage is racing against time to deactivate the last warhead loaded with VX nerve gas.
The green balls.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The hanging balls.
Yeah.
Don't drop that shit.
Keep them hanging.
They have to be loose and hangy or they won't work. Like, what the fuck?
Oh, my God.
But in the fray encounters Captain Fry, a bad guy who has been hot on his trail trying to kill him since the beginning of the film. Cage, having no military or hand-to-hand combat experience, gets his ass handed to him. Facing what could possibly be the end for Cage, being choked out by Captain Fry, he reaches for a sectional of the nerve gas that is compartmentalized and sealed in a small glass ball and shoves it into Fry's mouth.
Ah, yeah. That's a good death.
Oh, you know it.
Into his mouth.
Mm-hmm. Into his mouth with the ball.
He put the balls in his mouth. he teabagged him with some serious nerve shit.
Oh, yeah. At that point, he palm strikes the bottom of his chin, crushing the glass and exposing Fry to a very large and unhealthy dose of VX nerve gas.
I'm gonna choke my $1 million out of you! You're gonna die! Eat that, you fucker!
You could hear him when he was gargling those balls.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What's that he said before? I'm going to choke the living fucks out of you.
I'm gonna choke my $1 million out of you. You're gonna die!
I'm coming out of the booth, bitch.
Tony Todd was in that movie.
Tony Todd.
Been cool if they had other slasher villains as his henchmen.
Yeah.
Highly volatile, this gas could kill anyone in the room with it. It advertises complete nerve shutdown, spasms that rock the body so hard one's own back would break, and vomiting up one's own intestines. But that's after your skin melts off.
Yeah.
Cage narrowly escapes the same fate by administering an antidote via syringe through the chest plate and directly into his own heart. Captain Fry looks on to our hero, skin bubbling and melting as he meets his demise.
I got a boner right now.
You put this disease
Yeah.
Fucking gross. Captain Fry is played by an actor named Gregory Michael Sporleader, otherwise known as Spoonie.
Oh.
Yeah. Been in quite a few movies. He studied acting at the legendary Piven Theater Workshop. He was in Being John Malkovich, Black Hawk Down, Twister. Since then, Greg has taken to writing and directing, writing 3 and directing 2 short films, and starring in a Midwest indie drama called In the Wake of Ire. Interesting fellow, so There you go.
Right on.
And that was your movie death of the week.
I got a quote for you.
Yeah?
Iron Man does whatever an iron can. That's Spiderman. Black Sabbath did Iron Man. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Nope.
Huh?
Nope.
Biodome.
Damn it.
Dudes. Remember that shit?
That was so familiar.
So, Spider-Man Homecoming.
Hell yeah, man. This movie was good.
All right.
Yeah?
Best Spider-Man movie so far.
I heard it's got 5 villains in it.
What?
There's the Vulture,
Yeah.
who is Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the villain. But it introduces the characters that are going to be future villains. 4 of them.
Shit.
The Scorpion, the Tinkerer, the Shocker, and the Prowler.
Yeah, man.
The Tinkerer?
I mean, they're not in costume. It's just their real names, you know?
Yeah.
Spider-Man mythology.
I used to read Spider-Man comics when I was a kid. I gotta tell you, I don't know who the Tinkerer is.
He's an old man who, works on clocks.
He works on cocks.
Working on cocks. Tinkering. Not now, mother. I'm tinkering.
Gotta get it just right.
These cocks aren't going to work on themselves.
Are they little intricate cocks or giant cocks with a lot of intricate machinery inside?
For what?
Is there any other kind? Giant cocks.
Lateral cocks.
Cattle locks? Lateral cocks.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Finish up your homework and get your little red booties on. 'Cause it's time for Spider-Man Homecoming on Movies with Ron.
It's showtime.
All right, so we start off with the Sony and Columbia logos, and then we fade into a kid's drawing of the alien incident from Avengers 1. And the drawing is all of the Avengers fighting the Chitauri. It's all drawn in crayon. And there's this guy talking, he's holding it up, and he's like, yeah, you see, now look at this, all right? Now, see what's going on here? And he's showing it to his buddy. And then the camera pans back and we see that the guy holding the drawing is fucking Beetlejuice. Yeah. All right. So Beetlejuice runs a work crew. All right. And they are doing damage control cleanup after the incident. All right. They're inside of this big warehouse, and in the warehouse you can see one of those giant space slugs that was flying around the city.
Wow.
Yeah. And there's this one guy, he's trying to cut stuff apart with a saw, and it's not working, and he walks up to him and he's like, nah, listen, you gotta use their own stuff against it, man. And then he picks up a piece of alien metal and he starts cutting it up with it. The earth saws won't work.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, oh yeah, cool. And then this one guy walks in late. He's like, yeah, hey, thanks for showing up. Oh, sorry, my alarm didn't go off. Yeah, this is a big deal here, man. All right? Yeah, this is a big deal for us. And then they get interrupted by the Department of Damage Control, which is a new Department of Damage Control that has been invented by Tony Stark. And so they come in and they shut down Beetlejuice's contract and they take it over. And Beetlejuice is just like, hey, come on, man. I got a family here. These guys got families. What are we supposed to do? And the lady is just like, I don't fucking know. He's like, I bought trucks for this job. Come on. I mean, I'm really going to be screwed here. And then this guy that's with the new lady, he just goes, maybe next time don't overextend yourself.
Fucking assholes.
Yeah, man.
I'm already on his side.
And he's like, who the hell are you? Qualified personnel.
Oh, hey, come on! You gotta work with me here. I'm just trying to cut a deal. What do you want me to do?
So then Beetlejuice is like, oh, yeah, okay. Overextend myself. All right. You know what? And then he just punches that asshole in the face.
You bunch of losers! You're working with a professional here!
Fuck yeah.
We got a lot of Beetlejuice stuff?
We do.
Oh, that's good. So they're screwed and they have to leave. And, they're like, oh, that's great. You know, the asshole that's, destroying the city, he's the one getting paid to clean it up. That's great. So they had to turn in all of the alien artifacts. Mm-hmm. And then it turns out that they still have one truckload left. It's got all this metal in it and all these like glowing purple things.
Yeah.
And this little guy that works for Beetlejuice is like, oh, that's really too bad. I really could have made some cool stuff out of this. And then Beetlejuice is like, you know what? Let's keep it. The world's changing. Time we change too.
Go ahead. Make my millennium.
So then we cut to 8 years later, and we're in a different warehouse. And now it's his same crew, but now that little guy who was like, yeah, I can make some stuff out of this. He is the Tinkerer. Only that's not his name. And so he's sitting here working on all these giant cocks, right? He's like making space guns out of these glowing purple things. And then, you know what? We're getting a shipment ready. They make weapons. All right. That is what they do now. So they're making stuff and like crating it up. And then the fucking vulture flies in from the top of the warehouse. And it's this giant fucking set of metal wings with these huge fans on them. And then, he's wearing a helmet with like green eyes and a Bane jacket. So he swoops in and then he just lands on the floor.
I'm not going to kill you. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tell all your friends about me.
What are you?
I'm Batman.
Yeah.
So he throws the Tinkerer like a box of shit that he stole, which is, that's what the Vulture does, is he goes around and he steals alien technology from anyone who has it. So they can make more weapons out of it. He throws some to the Tinkerer and the Tinkerer's like, yeah, all right, cool. So, business is pretty good.
Yeah.
And then we fade into the Marvel logo sequence, which is like 20 minutes long. It's really cool looking. And the whole time they're playing like Spiderman, Spiderman, the old time 60s theme.
Cool.
Spider-Pig, Spider-Pig, does whatever a Spider-Pig does.
And then we get this whole sequence of amateur video shot from a phone, and it is Peter Parker's phone. And it shows him sitting in a private plane with Happy Hogan.
Who's that?
John Favreau, the director of Iron Man 1.
Oh, yeah.
Tony Stark's driver.
Right.
Yeah.
So Happy is taking Peter somewhere in the private jet, and Peter doesn't know how to act because he's so happy, Then they're in the hotel, and Happy's like, yeah, you know what? Come on, just go ahead, get ready. All right, put your suit on. And, Mr. Stark is waiting for you. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, no problem. So he puts on his shitty amateur suit that he's been wearing, like made out of sweatshirts and stuff.
Okay.
And Happy's like, what the hell are you doing, man? Like, what do you mean? You said to suit up. And he's like, you didn't see the crate? You didn't see the case? It's in there. Go in that door. And Peter's like, oh, I thought this was a closet. And he opens it up, and it's like the rest of his hotel room, which is all huge. He's like, oh my God. And then there's this nice, cool space age case on the table that says, a minor upgrade. And then he puts on his spider suit that Tony gave him.
Oh, yeah.
And then it just immediately cuts to another video being shot at the airport in Captain America Civil War. The video is being shot from behind something, like he's hiding. And he's like, oh my God, look at that. Oh man. And you see all the Avengers having their standoff in the middle of the airport tarmac. And he's like, wow, look at that. There's Captain America. There's Vision. And then you just hear in the video real faint, Iron Man go, Underoos. And Peter goes, oh man, that's me. Okay. And he sets the phone down, and then he just jumps over, and you see him come into the video, and he just immediately lands on top of the car, goes, hey guys, and steals Captain America's shield. It's pretty cool. Okay, so after that, he's meeting with Tony Stark, And he's like, oh man, this was amazing. Thank you so much. You know, do I get to keep the suit? Yeah, you get to keep it. It's okay. And he's like, oh man, are you telling me I'm an Avenger now? And Tony's like, no. All right. But, you know, maybe somewhere off in the future. So, you know, keep the suit. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Don't do anything I would do. I want you to just stay, you know, in your little area. Just be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, okay? Now, Happy is going to be your point man on this. So anytime anything happens, you give him a call. All right? He's like, yeah, okay. And Tony's like, oh, maybe we should record a video for Aunt May to help you with your cover. And he's like, yeah, okay. So he holds up his phone and he's recording him. And Tony's like, hey, May, how's it going? What you wearing? Something skimpy, I hope. I just wanted to tell you Peter did great at the, you know, Stark Tech Expo. All right. He did really good. So, you know, thank you so much. And then he leans over and Peter Parker hugs him. And then Tony's like, yeah, that's not a hug, man. I'm just getting the door for you. We're not there yet, man. Okay.
I feel like an asshole.
So then it cuts to 2 months later, and he looks at his phone, and it's like, no calls. And he's in school. You know, he's like, I think he's like 14 or 15 years old in this movie. And then we're introduced to his best friend, Ned. He's like a big, smart dork, just like him, and he's telling him, like, yeah, I just got the new Lego Death Star, man. You want to come over later and, you know, help me finish it? They're walking through the school, and then Peter sees Liz, who is this, who's his crush.
Uh-huh. Oh man, I wouldn't mind hitting that.
So they're staring at her, and then this chick, Michelle, who is played by Zendaya, she's like a grungy bitch in this movie.
Yeah.
And she's like always making fun of him. And we, you know, it's like a montage of him in school, and he's like in his science class, and then in his drawer of his desk, he's like pouring chemicals and making a new web solution. You know, and it's like labeled Web Fluid version 3. He's also a member of the Academic Decathlon Club. And it turns out that they're going to nationals. And he's like, yeah, I can't go, guys, because, you know, I have the Stark scholarship. So if Tony Stark needs me, you know, I really can't go anywhere. And everybody's like, come on, man, you're the smartest guy on the crew. We also meet Flash. You guys remember him from the other movies?
No.
He's the big bully that got like punched in slow motion or something. I don't know.
Okay.
Tried to punch Peter and Peter dodged it.
In the old ones?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was Flash?
Yeah.
Wow.
Not the Flash.
Okay, not the superhero Flash.
That's DC.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Spider-Man has an iconic bully named Flash.
Gotcha.
So I guess this is him.
Yeah, he was like a football jock in the comics and all these, but in this movie they just make him like a little spoiled rich kid.
Yeah.
Okay, so now school is over for the day, and it's time for Peter Parker to go off and do Spider-Man shit, and he loves it. He like can't wait for school to end. And he runs into this alley, pulls his suit out of his bag, changes his clothes out there in the street, and like hides his bag. Okay. And then he just runs off and he does Spider-Man shit for like, you know, the rest of the night. But it's all kind of low-key stuff, like stopping bicycle thieves and purse snatchers.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's sitting up on a fire escape and he's like, he calls Happy Hogan and leaves him a message and he's like, yeah, you know, just giving you an update, you know, the stuff I did. I, you know, I stopped a bike thief and, you know, I got this lady's purse back. She bought me a churro. You know, that was pretty cool. So, you know, just so you know, I'm ready for my next mission. Okay. Whenever. And that's when he notices a bank across the street being robbed. And it's really just a room full of ATMs that they're breaking into. And Spidey is like, oh shit, okay. All right, here we go. Something big. So he goes in there and there's like 4 guys and they're all wearing masks of the Avengers. Like Hulk and Thor and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And Spidey starts talking to him and he does that witty Spider-Man shit where he's like, oh, hey guys. You know, oh wait, you're not the real Avengers. And they turn around and they're like, oh fuck. And they are like ripping the ATMs out of the walls with this like super gravity gun that they have that's all glowing purple. All right.
Jeez.
So he starts like shooting webs at him and fucking him over. And then this guy picks up the gravity gun and shoots it at him. And he's like flying through the air. And he's like, this feels so weird. And he has to like pull himself out of its field with web, you know, shooting at the ceiling. Anyway, he kicks all their asses, and then one of the guys shoots this laser gun, and the laser is so powerful that it goes out of the bank and into a deli across the street that Peter Parker had actually been in earlier. So he knows the guy, the owner.
Mm-hmm.
So that explodes, and he has to go over and save the old man, which he does. By the time he gets back, the bank robbers are gone. So he goes back to the alley to change into his normal clothes and finds that his backpack has been stolen. And he's like, oh man. So then he has to go home and sneak into his bedroom window as Spider-Man. And he comes in and he's real quiet. And he just climbs in and just climbs across the ceiling, gets down onto the ground, listens for Aunt May in the next room, and then he turns around, and sitting on his bed is his friend Ned, who then drops his Lego Death Star, and it shatters all over the floor. And Peter's like, oh, shit. And then Ned's like, oh my God, man, you are Spider-Man? And he's like, no, man, no, I promise. He's like, you were on the ceiling. So obviously he can't hide it from Ned anymore. And he's like, dude, you have got to keep this a secret. And Ned's like, oh man, how do you handle being Spider-Man and having the Tony Stark scholarship at the same time? And Peter's like, man, this is the Stark scholarship. It's like, oh my God, wow. And then there's this short sequence of him asking him all these stupid questions. Like, can you summon an army of spiders? How far can you shoot your webs? He's like, I don't know. Maybe you should stand on the edge of a building and just shoot it off and try to see. Like in the first Spider-Man. This movie has a lot of little homage Easter eggs to stuff like that. And he's like, hey, can I be your guy in the chair? Well, what do you mean by that? He's like, every time there's a superhero that's out there battling bad guys, he's always got a guy, somewhere at a desk in a chair that's running things for him. Can I be that for you? He's like, no, man, I'm sorry. I don't need a guy in a chair. I just need you to keep the secret. And he's like, okay. So then May comes in. She's like, oh my God. Oh my fucking God. Fucking Marisa Tomei. She's like, I burned the meatloaf. You know what? Let's go out to dinner. So they're out there having, dinner, and she starts talking about Tony Stark. She's like, I am really just not a fan of that Tony Stark. Which is weird because they were flirting, in that other movie.
Yeah.
Captain America Civil War. And she's like, yeah, I'm just not a fan of his. And I find out now that this is a nod to her and Robert Downey Jr.'s real relationship in the 80s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They were dating for a while because they were in this movie called Only You. Heather told me all about it. So now it's the next day and they are in phys ed. And the teacher is just standing there like an asshole next to a TV. And he's playing an educational video recorded by Captain America, who's like, now, my good friend, and Captain points to the right, but the teacher's standing on the left. And Cap says, your gym teacher is about to administer Captain America's physical challenge. And then they're all just doing sit-ups and shit. Peter has to tone down his sit-ups because he was doing them so super fast that his teacher was like, hey man, pretty good. Because remember, he's superhuman, okay? So they hear a bunch of girls talking about, the Avengers and Spider-Man. And then Ned cannot contain himself and he's like, Peter knows Spider-Man. Peter looks at him like, you fuck. And everybody's like, whoa, really? And then Flash is like, oh yeah, cool. So you know Spider-Man, huh? Yeah, sure. Why don't you invite him to Liz's party tonight? And then Peter's like, yeah, okay. So Liz is having this big party at her house. They go, and the plan is for Peter to, at some point, swing in his Spider-Man suit and then fist bump Ned. Because Ned wants to ride his coattails of fame a little bit.
Yeah.
While he's outside waiting to do that, he sees this fucking blue explosion off in the distance. And he's like, what the hell? So he goes to investigate that instead. And he comes upon an alien's weapon deal happening with two of Beetlejuice's guys and then Donald fucking Glover. He's the guy who's there to buy the weapons. And they're showing him all these super gravity guns and everything. And he's like, man, I don't want that shit. I just want to shoot a guy. I don't want to fucking blow him back in time.
What do you think of this? You like it?
And the guy's like, well, we have some climbing gear in here. And then Donald Glover's like, huh? And this is all just an Easter egg because Donald Glover plays a character that turns into something called the Prowler, I guess.
Oh, really?
And one of his big things is climbing.
Huh.
So that is the extent of the Prowler's presence in the movie. But turns out that his nephew is Miles Morales, who becomes the next Spider-Man later on in life.
Oh, wow.
But anyway, Spidey interrupts the weapons deal, and he gets into a fight with everybody. One of the guys pulls out this, like, power punch glove that they have, and it's, like, all electrical. And he punches Spider-Man with it, and Spider-Man's like, oh, fuck.
You fat hooker!
So they get away, and he has to chase them. Only Spider-Man is out in the suburbs, and there are no high-rises for him to swing on.
Yeah.
So Spider-Man has to run through everybody's backyards and shit, just like Ferris Bueller's Day Off. He actually runs past a house that is playing that scene from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. All right. And he runs past a guy who's barbecuing, and he's like, smells delicious. He's like swinging on trees, but obviously that doesn't give him very much distance. And at one point he swings off of a tree house and just pulls it down. So he's like actually causing more damage than anything else. And he just has to follow these guys on foot.
Time to start running!
Yeah.
He ends up swinging across a backyard where there's a pool party happening, and he slams right into their like big stone fireplace outside and crashes through their like hanging lights. He lands in the next backyard right next to a tent where there's two little girls having a slumber party outside. They poke out of the tent and they look at him, and he's like covered in all these lights, and his eyes of the suit that like can like resize. You saw that in Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
They're like glitching. So they're like all googly eyed looking, like getting all big and small, like alternating. And it's like fucking scary as shit to them. And he's like, oh, hey guys, what's going on? And they just scream. In the van, one of the guys is like, all right, call Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice! Oh, no!
All right, so Spidey makes it on top of the van and then immediately gets pulled off of it by the Vulture, who has just swooped in. Didn't say a fucking word, just grabbed this Spider-Man fucker and just started taking him up into the air. And it's like pretty scary. Peter Parker's like screaming and stuff, and turns out that his new suit has a parachute in it.
Nice.
Which then deploys, and he gets trapped in it. Then the Vulture just fucking drops him in the river. So he's just sinking down into the black, caught in his parachute, and he is going to be fucked.
We're going to Big Park!
And then this flaming object just shoots down into the river after him, pulls him out, and it's fucking Iron Man. So he saves him, and then he goes and drops him on like a playground, and he's talking to him, and he's like, yeah, he's like hovering up in the air.
Yeah.
Spider-Man's all shivering. And he's like, man, you put a parachute in my suit? He's like, yeah, I put a whole lot of stuff in your suit, like this. And then you just hear this boop boop, and Spider-Man's suit just goes voo, and it dries him out. He's like, it's a heater. And Peter's like, oh man, that's so nice. Turns out he saw him, because there's a tracker on his suit. He's like, wow, so you actually, you came to save me. That's so cool. And then Iron Man's mask opens up and there's nobody in the suit. And it turns out that Tony Stark is in India. And like, they're like putting like necklaces on him. I don't know what he's doing there. People are handing him drinks and he's just talking to him through his glasses.
Yeah.
And he's like, look, man, I want you to be nice and friendly and good. Okay. I don't want you to go after all these huge bad guys and stuff. What about that old lady that bought you the churro? So it's like he's been hearing his messages.
Yeah.
He's like, all right, man, leave this stuff to the big guys. Spider-Man's like, oh man, come on. And then he hears from the Iron Man suit a car rev up and he's like, wait, are you driving? He's like, yeah, man, I gotta go. See ya. And then he just speeds away. And then Peter starts talking again and the Iron Man suit just goes, Mr. Stark is no longer online. And it just flies away. So now we cut back to Beetlejuice's lair and he's yelling at his guys for firing off the guns in public.
You son of a bitch.
Yeah, and he's talking to this guy who's still wearing the power punch glove.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, Oh yeah, you're wearing the Power Punch glove. That's great. You know, you walk around, you know, you shock cars. You walk around calling yourself the Shocker. Oh, you're the Shocker. That's fucking great. He walks over to where the Tinkerer is working on the big cocks. He picks up a gun. Okay. The Tinkerer, by the way, he's like, every time he sees Beetlejuice, he's like, hey, I'm still working on that high altitude vacuum seal. And, Beetlejuice is like, fuck that. He points at one of the guns in front of the Tinkerer and he's like, is this thing working? The guy's like, yeah. He just picks it up and just shoots the Shocker with it. And the guy just disintegrates into cinders. And everybody's like, fucking staring at what he just did. You know, cause they haven't like killed anybody.
Now you want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts.
Beetlejuice looks at the Tinkerer and he's like, I thought this was the anti-gravity gun. So he walks over and he picks up the Power Punch glove, throws it to this other guy who is played by Bokeem Woodbine. You guys know who that is?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was also in The Rock. And he's like, here. You're the Shocker now.
Oh, come on. Don't go yet. Hey, guy, come on. We're simpatico here. Look at us. Huh, we even shop at the same store. Hey, hermano.
And he's like, now go and get that weapon you guys dropped back at the deal. Cause they dropped a weapon, which Spider-Man has gone back and found. So he takes it to school and he takes it apart, pulls out the little glowy purple thing, okay? So he's talking with Ned about it and they're calling it the glowy thing, some sort of alien power source, right? And it turns out that the Shocker and his buddy, they can track it. So they're like following a little machine that's showing them where it is. And they're like in the machine shop in the class.
Mm-hmm.
And Spidey like narrowly escapes them. And then it turns out that Spidey has actually shot a little tracker of his own onto the van. So he can see where they're going with his little, heads up display, you know, like hologram shit, Stark Tech.
Yeah.
Turns out that they are up in Maryland, which is very close to DC, which is where the Academic Decathlon Nationals are. So he rejoins the team to go up there, and the teacher is like, hey man, glad to have you back. Okay, hey Flash, now you're back to Peter's alternate. And Flash is like, fucker! On the bus ride up there, Happy Hogan actually calls Peter. So you're like, oh shit, he's got a mission. The one time he leaves town, right? But no, Happy's like, hey, I see that you just left New York. What the hell are you doing? And he's like, oh, I'm just going to an academic decathlon. It's, you know, it's no big deal. It's, hey, I'll tell you what's not a big deal. Now tell me what's happening. It's an academic decathlon. We're just going to go and compete in, competition and stuff. And Happy's like, okay, yeah, sounds like not a big deal. Have fun, man. But all the while, Happy Hogan is like, he's organizing the big move from Avengers Tower up to the new facility they have upstate. Okay, remember that?
Oh.
Because Tony Stark has sold Avengers Tower. So they have to, take all of that awesome technology they have and move it. That's all being packed up. And there was a moment in this sequence that was cool for me because in the background you can see Dummy moving stuff around. You guys remember Dummy? That is Tony Stark's little one-armed robot that was helping him out in the first movie.
Oh, wow.
Last scene at the end of Iron Man 3, broken and being towed away.
There you go.
So they're in the hotel, and Peter and Ned have hooked his suit up to Ned's laptop, and he's looking at all the programming in it, and he's like, dude, there are so many options in your suit, but they're all disabled for something called the training wheels protocol. And Peter's like, oh man, God, why does Mr. Stark keep treating me like a kid? And Ned's like, you are a kid, man.
Stick my balls.
So Peter's like, disable it. And Ned's like, whoa, man, are you sure? This looks like a whole lot of stuff. And if he wanted you to be able to use it, he would have let you. And Peter's like, do it. So it gets disabled. And they also remove the tracker from the suit. So no one can see where he is. So he puts his suit in his bag and he's leaving the hotel room to go and track down Beetlejuice. And he runs into Liz, who's in her swimsuit, and she's like, hey, we're all gonna go sneak into the pool. Come on, let's go. And he's like, oh, man.
I bet he's got that hot Puerto Rican strange.
Because he's like in love with her, okay? And he decides to go ahead and do the Spider-Man shit instead. So he gets out into the open, puts on the suit, and then a woman's voice starts talking to him from the suit. And it's like, oh, Mr. Parker, congratulations on completing your training wheels protocol. And he's like, who the hell are you? She's like, I'm the onboard computer for your suit, man. What's up? And it turns out that it is Jennifer Connelly doing the voice.
Cool.
She's married to Paul Bettany, who plays Vision.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, there you go.
Boy, do you know how to pick 'em. Let me ask you something. Is this relationship really solid? Do I have a shot at her at all? Excuse me. Sure. Am I overstepped my bounds? Just tell me. Come on.
All right, so it turns out that his suit now has all these different new modes, okay? And he tracks down the van to some old gas station, and he's looking, and he's like, man, I really wish that I could hear what they're saying. And she's like, would you like me to turn on surveillance mode? And he's like, yeah. And then he can hear them from like miles away, right? Mm-hmm. He goes to shoot his webs, and they're not working. He's like, hey, what's going on? She's like, oh, well, you have to choose a web shooter mode. You have like 550 of them. Which one would you like? And he's like, I don't know. You just pick one. And she's like, rapid fire. So then he shoots his web, and it just goes. It's pretty cool. And he's like, no, pick something else. So then he tries to swing over to them, and the gas station sign that he shot his web at starts electrifying and lighting up. And he's like, what the hell is this? She's like, it's taser mode. He's like, forget that. All right, let's do something else. And she goes, would you like me to turn on instant kill? And then his Spider-Man eyes like get really small, and they turn fucking red. And he's like, whoa, no, turn off instant kill. And she's like, okay. And then they go back to normal. All right, so these bad guys are out there to meet up with Beetlejuice, who is going to fly around as the Vulture and break into this truck convoy, which is hauling a bunch of, gear that he's going to steal for him.
Uh-huh.
So Spidey follows him, and it turns out the Vulture has this tech where he, throws these 4 little devices onto, a wall, and then they will energize and turn the space in between them into just a glowing purple portal. So you can just, walk through walls.
What?
Yeah. So that's how he gets into the trucks. That's how he steals all of his shit. So the Vulture's in the truck, and he's, looking at all the shit that he wants to take, and then it turns out that Spider-Man jumped in behind him. So they get into a little fight.
We fight?
But it's very short-lived. Then the Vulture just fucking leaves the truck and turns off that little portal device. Spider-Man tries to follow him and knocks himself out on the top of the truck that he is now trapped in.
Oh.
So seemingly hours later, Spidey wakes up and he's talking to Suit Lady. That's what he calls her. He's like, Suit Lady, where am I? And she's like, I don't know. The walls of the truck are blocking my sensors. So he freaks out, and then he just breaks through the door, and he's in a giant warehouse full of all of these shipping containers. And he's like, okay, now can you see where I am? She's like, yes, you are in the vault for the Department of Damage Control, which is the most secure facility on the Eastern Seaboard. And you're locked in it. And there's this giant door that he's trying to pry open. She's like, the doors will most likely be closed until Monday. And he's like, shit! So then there's this montage of him just stuck in this warehouse. And he's playing around with his different web stuff. And there's shots of him hanging upside down on the web, reading a book. And he's like, so, what do I call you? She's like, you can call me anything you want. And he's like, how about Liz? Because that's the girl he likes. He's like, wait, no, that would be weird, How about Karen? And she's like, yes, you can call me Karen. And he's like, Karen?
You're a fat bitch.
So he's looking around the warehouse at other crap in there, and he finds some more of these glowing purple things. He's like, what is this, Karen? And she's like, oh, those are alien power cells. They're actually explosive. And he's like, wait, what? The glowy thing is a bomb? Now, remember, Ned has the glowy thing in his backpack.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, it would have to be hit with a big amount of radiation to activate it, so it really should be fine. And he's like, man, how long have we been in here? And she goes, 36 minutes. And he's like, what the fuck? And she goes, hey, who is Liz anyway? And he's like, oh, she's just this girl. She's at school. She's beautiful, I really like her. And he's like, should I tell her that I'm Spider-Man? And Karen's like, no. So him and Karen have kind of bonded now. So they like work better together. And he's like, Karen, I got to get out of here. You got to help me hack this door. So they're doing that while we see the academic decathlon team win the championship without Peter Parker.
Yeesh.
And they're like, yeah, awesome. And Flash is like, see, I told you we didn't need Parker. So to celebrate, they are going to go and see the Washington Monument. Spidey is trying to get to them as fast as he can because he knows that that purple thing in Ned's backpack is a bomb, which requires radiation, and they have to go through an X-ray checkpoint to get into the Washington Monument, which then activates the purple bomb.
Shit.
So they all get into the elevator to ride all the way up to the top. Once they're all the way at the top, the bomb detonates out of his backpack, but it only shoots energy like upward. So it blew out the top of his backpack, but he's okay.
How convenient.
Yeah, it also totally destroyed the mechanism for the elevator, which is now like hanging by a thread, about to fall down its shaft. Spider-Man finally gets to the monument and has no choice but to crawl up the side of it. All the while, Karen is like, the safety protocols for the elevator are about to give out. They are about to die in like 136 seconds. And he's like, oh my God, I'm trying. And he's like, he's crawling up it. He's like shooting his web and trying to spring himself upwards. He finally gets to the top, looks down, realizes he has never been this high before, and starts getting vertigo.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, Spider-Man with vertigo, right? So, Karen's like, what's the matter, Peter? And he's like, no, I've just, I've never been this high before. And she's like, would you like me to find you the, best entrance in? And he's like, yeah, sure. And then the little black spider from the front of his costume flies off.
What?
And it's a little, it turns out it's a little drone. And it starts flying around the building and finds one of the windows at the very top. And he's like, man, has that thing been here this whole time? She's like, yes. So he's trying to bust into it. And he's like, why isn't it breaking? She's like, it is 4-inch ballistic glass. You're going to have to hit it with a little more momentum. And he, he shoots his web at the top of the monument and he's like trying to swing outward and then back in to kick it. And it's still not working. Now there are choppers circling the Washington Monument and they're like,
Get to the chopper!
And they're like, you, get down there, return to the ground or we will open fire. And they're sitting there with machine guns like pointing them at Spider-Man. Cause they don't know who he is, right?
Yeah.
So he climbs up to the very top and he steels himself for what he's about to do. And he's like, all right, whew, okay, here we go. And then he just jumps backwards and it's this big slow motion sequence. He jumps over the top of the helicopter, extends these little glider webs that attach his hip to his wrists. Oh, he can use that to like glide short distances. That was one of the new modes that she showed him earlier. Makes it to the other side of the chopper and then turns around, shoots a web at it, then swings underneath, uses that momentum to break the glass and get inside the monument. Whew. Once he is inside, the elevator falls. He shoots a bunch of web at it, stops it, and they're all like, oh God, what do we do? Flash is like, it's my turn, I want to get up out of the door. So they lift him up out of the top of the elevator, and he's like, bring in the trophy with him. And somebody actually yells out, don't worry about the trophy. But he's an asshole. Anyway, they get everybody out of the elevator except for Liz.
Oh, shit.
Spidey's web actually gives way. The elevator falls. He shoots web down in there, grabs Liz, lets the elevator fall, and she's just hanging there. So then he lifts her up. He is hanging upside down, gets her up onto the floor, and then he's hanging upside down right in front of her face. And then Karen goes, now is your chance, Peter. Kiss her. And everything stops and there's this moment and he's like upside down staring into her eyes and she's like looking into his Spider-Man face. And then he falls. Falls down the elevator shaft and you see him just disappear into smoke. Flash yells out, hey, are you really friends with Peter Parker? And I so wanted to hear him go, yes. So now this is all over the news and Spider-Man is famous now. They get back and, everybody's talking about it. Also watching it on the news is Beetlejuice. And he's like, You know, we've been doing this for like 8 years, okay? No FBI, no Avengers, no one has ever messed with us, okay? And now this little red-booted freak, he shows up and he thinks he's gonna take me down. Nah, no way.
Never rub another man's rhubarb.
So Peter actually ends up getting detention for skipping out on the academic decathlon. While he's in there, there is an educational video from Captain America playing that's like, so you've got detention. What did you do? You know, were you trying to be cool? So Peter just fucking leaves detention. Doesn't matter. Fuck it. And he and Karen track down Donald Glover, the Prowler. They find him in a parking garage. And he's like, all right, I'm going to go and get him. Karen's like, would you like me to turn on interrogation mode? And he's like, yeah, cool. So he walks up to him. He shoots Webb and sticks Donald's hand to the trunk of his car. And then he starts talking to him.
And his voice sounds like this.
Coming out a little Spider-Man.
He's like, hey, you were at that weapon deal. What the hell's going on here? I need you to tell me who those guys were. Who's selling the weapons? Give me names. I need names.
And Donald Glover is like, man, why does your voice sound like that?
What do you mean? My voice sounds fine. This is my voice.
He's like, no, I heard you at the weapons deal. I know what a girl sounds like, man.
He's like, I'm not a girl. I'm a man.
So then Spidey's like,
all right, turn off interrogation mode.
And he's like, listen, man, you know, I really need to get those, the names of those guys who were selling you those weapons. And Donald Glover's like, yeah, man, okay, I'll tell you their names and stuff, but, yeah, you gotta help me out. I don't want those weapons in my neighborhood, man. You know, I got a nephew that lives there. So he tells him where to go, and then Spider-Man starts leaving. Donald Glover's like, hey, my hand. Come on, get me out of this. And, Spider-Man's like, that will dissolve in 2 hours. Donald's like, hey, no, man, come back here and fix this. As Spider-Man's running away, he just goes, you deserve that. Okay, you're a criminal. All right, but thank you. And he leaves. So he goes to find Beetlejuice, and they are on the Staten Island Ferry, okay? It's a big old boat.
Into the boat!
Now, Beetlejuice is there, and he is going to meet with some other guys for a new weapons deal.
You know what's really beautiful about this? You two kids picked me. You didn't have to, but you picked me. It makes me want to kiss you guys. Come on. No, give me one.
And he's meeting with this weird-looking bald guy. And Spidey is up there, and he's watching him through his heads-up display, and he's listening to him. And they're making this weapons deal, and right then Tony Stark calls Peter. Peter's like, "Oh, hey, Mr. Stark, what's going on?" And Tony's like, "Yeah, you know what? I just wanted to tell you, good job in DC. Okay, my dad never told me good job. Okay, so I'm just, I'm trying to break that cycle. Okay, I'm trying to be supportive." And Spider-Man's like, yeah, that's cool. Thanks, man. But you know what? I actually have to go. And then you hear this big foghorn. And Tony's like, hey, where are you? Oh, I'm in school. I'm in band practice. And Tony's like, I thought you dropped out of band. Like he knows everything about him.
Yeah.
And then Peter has no choice but to just hang up on Tony Stark. He looks down and Beetlejuice is trying to make this deal with this bald guy.
I'll eat anything you want me to eat. I'll swallow anything you want me to swallow. Come on down now. Chew on a dog.
So they're making the deal, and then Spider-Man just jumps down, takes the keys to the van out of the guy's hand, I guess, and then he's like, hey guys, what's going on? And he just starts kicking people's asses. Right then, the fucking FBI comes out. And they're like, FBI, everybody freeze! Everybody throws their hands in the air. Spider-Man has to as well. And he's like, yeah, you guys, I'm trying to stop this, And they're like, get on the ground, get on the ground. Right then, Beetlejuice has gone back into his van and comes out with the wings. So the Vulture is just tearing shit up. Cause his wings are super sharp. And, he's cutting cars in half and shit. Yeah. So he starts going crazy. He's also got a new laser gun that, he pulled out of the van and he's shooting at Spider-Man and shit. Spider-Man disarms him, pulls the gun out of his hand with some webs. The gun is still firing though. And it's out of control. So then he just shoots a whole shit ton of webs at it and then just pins it to the floor of the boat. But it continues to fire and ends up cutting the entire boat in half lengthwise.
Oh, jeez.
So Spider-Man freaks the hell out. The Vulture gets away. This boat is splitting in half, okay? And it's huge. So Spider-Man's looking at these two halves of this ship that's splitting apart, and he's like, okay, Karen, I need you to show me all the strong points of the boat. And then she highlights them for him in red. So then he just like swings through the whole thing, just shooting webs back and forth between the two halves and like holding them together. And it's a really awesome sequence. There's this guy who sees him swing by doing it, and he's like, all right, Spider-Man, yeah! Spidey gets done, and he's at the other end of the boat, and he's like, all right. And then Karen just goes, really good job, Peter. You were 98% successful.
Oh,
and he goes, 98? And then one of the webs breaks, and then they all just start breaking because of that. It's like a big domino effect. So the boat starts splitting in half again. And he's like, oh, shit. And then all of a sudden, fucking Iron Man swoops in, flies in, starts pushing one of the halves back against it. And then out of the sky come these like big like drones or whatever. And then they shoot off all of these tiny little jets that all just fly around the ship and attach themselves. And it turns out that they're all just like little engines. Mm-hmm. So then those push the ship together. Iron Man then flies throughout the boat and welds the whole thing back together. As he flies by, that same guy goes, all right, Iron Man! As he's doing all this, Spider-Man is just like following him. And he's like, Mr. Stark, what can I do to help? Iron Man just turns to him and goes, oh, no. I think you've done enough.
Everything you're doing is bad. I want you to know this.
So he starts yelling at Peter. And he's like, man, I gave you this suit and you are fucking up, pal. Look, nobody died, thankfully, okay? But if somebody had, that would have been on you, okay? Now, what if you had died? Okay, I'm thinking that one would have been on me. And Spider-Man's like, yeah, man, I'm sorry. I fucked up. And he's like, but I tried to warn you. I tried to warn you about these guys and their weapons. Okay? And you didn't listen. Nobody wanted to listen to me. In fact, if you even cared, you'd actually be here right now. And then the suit opens up and Tony Stark steps out. And it's like, whoa, shit. He steps out and he just starts yelling in this kid's face. And he's like, who the hell do you think called the FBI, motherfucker? I did. I believed in you from the beginning. Fucking little piece of shit. So you know what? It's not working out. I'm going to need the suit back. And then Spider-Man's like, oh, shit. And Peter's like, no, man, you can't take the suit. Please, I'm nothing without it. Tony Stark turns to him and he's like, if you're nothing without it, then you don't deserve it. Jesus, I sound like my dad. And then Peter's like, these are the only clothes that I have. Tony's like, oh, that's okay. We can fix that. And then it just cuts to Peter Parker walking into his apartment in some tourist shirt that says, I survived my trip to New York. And it's just a picture of a broken down taxi cab. And Aunt May is like, whoa, what happened, man? And he's like, I lost the Stark Scholarship. And she's like, oh no, I'm so sorry. So he has no choice but to just like, be a kid again. So there's this big montage of him in school, like, yeah, answering questions in his Spanish class. And then it shows him and Ned, like, putting the Death Star Lego together. And he's just like, kind of enjoying his life again, taking a breather. He ends up running into Liz in the hallway, and she's hanging a homecoming banner. And he's like, you know what? I just gotta say something. I like you. Okay, I really like you. She's like, yeah, I know. You're not very good at keeping that a secret. He's like, oh, okay, well, I was wondering, do you have a date to homecoming? And she's like, I've been so busy planning it, I didn't even think about that. Well, do you want to go with me? Yeah, I'd like that. So now he's got a date with the hottest chick in school, Liz, right? So it shows him at home, and, Aunt May is like practicing dancing with him, and she's like, takes him to get his corsage and stuff. So this is it. It's the night of the big dance, and he is on his way to pick up Liz. Goes up to her house, rings the doorbell. Door opens up. It's fucking Beetlejuice.
Good Lord.
Yeah. He's like, hey, Peter, how's it going? I'm Liz's dad.
We come for your daughter, Chuck.
Peter is like, oh, fuck. So he walks in the house and they're waiting for Liz to be ready. And he's like, yeah, so, I'm going to be your chauffeur tonight. You guys ready to go? So Peter is all super awkward and like kind of scared, and they're like taking photos of him and Liz. Liz is all smiling and Peter is just like looking at her dad. And he's just like staring at him. So now he's got to drive him to the dance. And he's like, so Peter, what are you going to do? Peter's like, what do you mean? After you graduate. And then Peter's like, oh, I don't really know. And Liz is like, well, Peter has the Stark scholarship, so I think he's going to be just fine. Right then, Beetlejuice like looks up. Stark? Yeah, what a guy. And Peter's like, actually, I don't have that scholarship anymore. And she's like, oh no, what happened? I don't know. I just thought it was kind of boring. Boring? What do you mean? You got to hang out with Spider-Man. Now Beetlejuice is definitely looking like, what the hell? Oh, Spider-Man, huh? Yeah, what a guy. What's he like? He's like, yeah, he's pretty cool. He's a pretty cool, solid guy. I don't know. And then Beetlejuice is like, do I know you? Have I seen you somewhere before? Maybe, even your voice. And then Liz is like, well, he's on my academic decathlon team. He's like, oh, okay, maybe that's it.
I like him already.
And she's like, yeah, he was also at my party. And Peter's like, oh, yeah, that was a great party. You have a really wonderful house. And then Liz is like, yeah, you were only there for like a second. You disappeared, just like you disappeared on the day of the academic decathlon. So then Beetlejuice is like, oh. They pull up to the dance and he's like, honey, why don't you go inside? I gotta have the, dad talk with Peter here. So she actually gets out and it's just those two. So Beetlejuice reaches down, picks up a pistol, and then turns around, looks at Peter and he's like, does she know? Peter's like, well, does she know what? Like, oh, that's good. You got some secrets. Okay, I got a few myself. Now here's what you're gonna do. You are never going to fuck with me or my people again.
I don't really fucking care. You wanna know fucking why? Cause I don't fucking live in the fucking world! I live in fucking New York City! So go fuck yourself!
You're gonna go in there, and you're gonna show my daughter a good time. But, not too good, you know what I'm saying? And he's like, you're gonna do this, or, I'm gonna kill everyone you love. And here's where you say thank you. And then Peter just looks at him and goes, thank you. He's like, all right, now go. So, yeah, Peter just got spanked on his dick. Goes into the homecoming dance. In the dance, Liz looks at him and she's like, oh, man, what did he say to you? And he goes, I gotta go. And she's like, what the fuck? You gotta disappear again. And he's like, yeah, I'm sorry, you don't deserve this. And then he just runs away. Goes off, lifts up this big bay of lockers where he keeps Spider-Man shit hidden. And he pulls out his old shitty costume that's made out of sweatshirts. Puts it on, runs out the back of the school, and immediately gets attacked by Beetlejuice's henchman, the Shocker. It's just Bokeem Woodbine wearing the Power Punch glove. Now he's still holding like his amateur web shooters and stuff, like in his hands, and he gets punched, and that flies away from him. Mm-hmm. So he's trying to get to it, and then Bokeem Woodbine just like kicks it out of the way and starts kicking the shit out of him. He's about to punch him in the face or something when all of a sudden from behind him he gets hit with some webbing and he gets pulled away. Peter Parker looks over to his left and there is his chubby friend Ned holding the web shooter.
Not so fast, brown boy. We're gonna have some laughs.
So it was like, fuck yeah, Ned saved him. And then he, shoots a bunch of webbing at the Shocker and like totally immobilizes him against the side of a school bus. Then Flash drives up with his date in his nice car. Spider-Man just gets on the hood and he's like, I need your car. Flash is all scared and he's like, actually, sir, it's my dad's car, so I don't really know. And then it just shows Spider-Man driving off in his car. And he's not that good of a driver. So he's like running into shit. And Flash is like, oh man. As he's driving down the road, Ned is in the high school computer lab looking up, where the Vulture is or something like that. Mm-hmm. The address. And he's like, yeah, you gotta go here, you gotta go there. And, Peter's like, man, how do I turn on the headlights in this fucking car? Ned's like, hold on, let me pull up the schematics. And he just wheels around to another computer behind him and he pulls it up and he's like, yeah, it's on the left. Just turn the dial once. And you see that Ned is the guy in the chair. He's like finally having his moment for him.
Yeah.
And then Ned like spins around and he's like, guy in the chair. And then he gets caught by a teacher. And she's like, what the hell are you doing in here? There's a dance happening. And Ned just like, oh shit. And he looks at her and he goes, I'm looking at porn.
One of us is in deep trouble.
On the road, Spider-Man calls Happy Hogan, who is right in the middle of moving day. And he's like, yeah, come on, we're almost done here. All we got left is, Stark's, Hulkbuster armor. We got all of Captain America's prototype shields and then, Thor's magic belt. Okay, that's all we got left. Let's get him on this plane. So the plane is parked on top of Avengers Tower, and it's going to haul all this stuff away. Meanwhile, Beetlejuice gets back to his hideout, looks at the Tinkerer, and he's like, is the high-altitude vacuum seal ready? The Tinkerer's like, oh my god, yes, you're finally going to use it. And then Spider-Man makes it into the warehouse. Remember, he's in his shitty old costume. Goes up and he confronts Beetlejuice, and he's like, hey man, what the fuck are you doing, okay? You can't do this. How could you do this to Liz? Beetlejuice is like, to her? I'm doing it for her.
I'm telling you, honey, she meant nothing to me. Nothing at all.
And he starts talking about Tony Stark and like the government. And he's like, you know what? We build their buildings. We build their roads, okay? We fight in their wars. But they just don't care about us. Spider-Man's like, what does this have to do with anything, man? And Beetlejuice goes, it was really just a distraction. I needed time to get this running. And then his new set of wings flies in by itself and just starts flying around the fucking warehouse and like crashing into pillars and breaking them. And it's just like flying around Spider-Man. And he's like, yeah, sorry, Peter. And Peter's like, nah, man, I'm fine. It hasn't touched me at all. Beetlejuice goes, it wasn't supposed to. And then we see what really happened was it broke all the pillars and the entire roof of the warehouse just collapses on top of Spider-Man.
Ugh.
And he is just gone under tons of rubble. So then the Vulture leaves. Now Peter is just by himself stuck under all this debris. And this is actually one of the best acted moments in the movie. And Peter Parker is just fucking crying. And he's like, calling out like, can somebody help me? I'm stuck under here. And it's just totally hopeless and he just keeps on crying. And, he is not strong enough to lift all this debris off of himself. And he just looks down and right in front of him is a puddle where he's looking at his own reflection of his face. And then in the puddle is his shitty little mask. And he just hears Tony Stark's voice going, if you are nothing without this suit, then you don't deserve it. And he's like, all right, that's it. And then he just gets all mad and lifts the shit off of himself and gets out. Then he just runs away. Now the plane is taking off from Avengers Tower. And it's up in the air and it turns on its reflective panels, just like the helicarrier in the first Avengers movie. So it's like invisible in the night sky.
Yeah.
And then in flies the Vulture. And he's talking on the radio with the Tinkerer, and he's like, yeah, okay, I'm coming in. I feel a little drag. What's going on here? And the Tinkerer's like, oh, it's probably just one of the new servos, it's fine. But we see it's actually fucking Spider-Man has shot a web at his wings and is just like being towed by him up into the air. He's looking down at the city that's like miles down now, and he's like, oh god. So then the Vulture activates his new high altitude vacuum seal and just like his wings fold up into like this little cup, I guess, and just seals against the bottom of the plane. So then he uses his little portal device to get into the bottom of the plane. He's up inside, he's looking in all the crates, and in the crates are like 500 Iron Man arc reactors. And, like shields and crap, and then like alien guns. And he's like, wow, this is it, man. This is the score. Spider-Man is now stuck to the outside of the plane, crawling along it. It's kind of hard. And he's like, yeah, typical homecoming night. I'm on an invisible plane fighting my girlfriend's dad. It's all good. So he's like kicking at the wing device that's stuck to the bottom of the plane, and he actually breaks the vacuum seal. So now all these alarms go off inside the plane, and the Vulture sees that it's Spider-Man. So now, okay, he is pissed. This little bastard is fucking up his big score. Mm-hmm. So all of a sudden, he's back in his wing device, and he and Spider-Man get into this huge fucking fight on top of the plane. And he's just like ripping up the top of the plane with his wings, and the plane starts to go down. All right, and it's like careening towards the city. They're kicking each other's asses. Peter sees the plane is going down, so then he shoots his webs at like the flaps on the wings and pulls them, so it kind of steers away from the building that it was going to hit. Right then, we see Happy Hogan on Avengers Tower, and he's like watching his plane go down. He's like, oh shit, man. And then it fucking crashes on the beach or something. The New York City beach. And Pete is all fucked up. He's like laying there. Okay. His ears are ringing for some reason, just like in Baby Driver. Okay. We, the audience, hear it. And he's fucked up, but he's still alive. And right then, the Vulture shows up. And he's pissed off. He's like, now you're dead, bitch.
Welcome to Winter River, Museum of Natural Green, a monument to the board businessman. Come on a little closer.
Come on a little closer. So he's going after Peter, and then he looks to the left, and he sees a crate. And it's kind of busted open a little bit. There's a whole bunch of arc reactors inside. And he's like, oh shit, I can still take this and just leave. All right, that's what I'll do. So with his giant claw feet, he picks up the crate and starts flying away. But his wings are all damaged and fucked up, and they're like sparking and shit. And Peter sees this, and he's like, hey, man, your wings are about to explode. He's like, fuck you. And Peter just like shoots some web at him and tries to keep him from flying away. And he's like, man, I am trying to save your life. And then the wings just fucking explode. And Beetlejuice goes down, baby, in a big ball of flame. And then we just see Peter Parker carrying Beetlejuice out of the explosion. So he's got him. So it cuts to a little while later, and Happy Hogan and his crew show up to get all of their stuff back. Mm-hmm. And then next to the wreckage, all of the crates are all piled up together. And pinned against one of the crates with all this webbing is Beetlejuice. And he is just sitting there. And he's awake. He's like looking at Happy Hogan, and then he turns to his right, sees a note that's written there, and it just says, found, flying vulture guy, Spider-Man, P.S. Sorry about your plane. And Beetlejuice is just like looking at Happy Hogan. He's just like nodding his head like, yeah, man, you got me. So it cuts to the next day at school, and Ned is looking at Peter, and he's like, yeah, man, I had my moment. I was the guy in the chair. Peter's like, yeah, good. And then he looks over to the right, and he sees Liz and her mom. They're leaving the school. Her mom's like holding a box of all of her stuff. And he's like, Liz, wait. Where are you going? She's like, I'm leaving the state. We're going up to Oregon. It turns out my dad's a huge criminal. He doesn't want us here during the trial, so, he says it'll be better for us up there. Like, they're like, standing by him. Yeah. I love that it's Michael Keaton, and he's like, still got a loving family. So now there's a meeting with the academic decathlon team, and the teacher is like, all right, well, Liz is leaving, so we're gonna have to have a new team captain, and I've nominated Michelle. And that's the grungy, bitchy girl. Uh-huh. And they're all like, hey, good job, Michelle. Yeah, good. And she's like, yeah, just so you guys know, my friends call me MJ.
Ooh.
Yes. And I'm like, man, that is not a good trade for Liz.
Yeah?
No way.
Yeah. Isn't it supposed to be Mary Jane, too?
Yeah, and they left it ambiguous. So right then, Peter gets a text from an unknown number, and it says, go to the bathroom. So he gets up, and he walks into the bathroom, and standing in there waiting for him is Happy Hogan, just standing there in a high school bathroom waiting for him.
Yo! You!
And Happy's like, hey, listen, man, I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you so much, okay? Because I love my job, okay? And I really need this job. Peter's like, yeah, okay. Yeah, and I just really wanted to thank, and then the toilet flushes in one of the stalls. And they both just stop talking. And the camera does not leave. They're just standing there waiting. Toilet flushes, and then some kid walks out of the stall, gets out, looks at them both, and then walks over to the sink and starts washing his hands. Peter and Happy are still staring at each other, and then the kid, like, dries his hands off and then leaves. And as he's leaving, he's just, staring at Peter. And then Peter goes, hey, is Mr. Stark here? Is he here too? And then Happy's like, what, in here, in the bathroom? No, I don't think there's anybody else in here. Yeah, he's waiting for you, though, at the upstate New York facility. He's like, oh, so we're going there now? He's like, yeah, come on, let's go. So they show up, and that place is beautiful. There's all these cool shots of it, and there's like a Quinjet taking off, and Spider-Man's just staring at it wow, that's so cool. And Happy's like, yeah, man, is it right? It's pretty cool. So he walks in and he finds Tony Stark, who's like, hey, man, nice job. You did so good. Oh my God, man, I am so proud of you. So come here, I gotta show you something. I'm telling you, you know how I took your suit away? And he's like, yeah. Well, we're going to go ahead and count that as a test. All right. You know what? We're going to call it a good thing that I did that. It inspired you to go ahead and, do things without it, on your own. We're going to call that a good thing. And Peter's just like, yeah, okay. It's like, so anyway, over here. And he shows him this big case that's about to open up. And he's like, so I want you to go ahead and put that on. It opens up. And there is this brand new space-agey looking Spider-Man suit. And it's really cool. He's like, go ahead and put that on. Now on the other side of those doors, there is a whole bunch of reporters waiting for us to walk in. And I am going to introduce the newest member of the Avengers. And Peter Parker is like, holy shit, are you kidding me? And he's like, yeah, no. All right, it's totally cool. Hey, Happy, why don't you go ahead and open up a room for him? We'll put you on the 3rd floor, blah, 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 right next to Vision. How about next to Vision? And then Happy's like, yeah, Vision isn't big on doors, okay? So, it's probably a little weird. He's just not big on walls either. And then Peter stops him and he's like, you know what, Mr. Stark? No thanks. And Tony's like, what the fuck? Are you serious, man? He's like, yeah, you know what? I think I'm going to keep my feet on the ground for a while. Just be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Tony's like, yeah, okay. Kind of a Bruce Springsteen working class hero thing you got going on. All right. I respect that. Okay. So, all right. Happy will take you home then. And then Happy's like, yeah, go ahead and wait in the car. I need to talk to Mr. Stark. As Peter's walking away, he turns around to Stark and he's like, hey, that was a test, right? There's nobody actually on the other side of that door. Stark goes, oh yeah, totally, man. And you totally passed. Good job, buddy. Good job. So then Peter leaves. Then the door opens up and we see a whole shit ton of reporters on the other side of the room. And Pepper Potts walks out.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Yeah. Gwyneth Paltrow. She shows up and she's like, hey, where the hell's the kid? Okay. Everybody's in here waiting for him. What's going on here? And they're like, well, he's waiting in the car. He actually said no. And Pepper goes, oh man, did you guys screw this up? What the hell am I going to tell all these people now? And then Tony looks at Happy and he's like, hey, do you still have that ring? And as the audience were like, oh shit, Tony's about to propose to Pepper. And Happy's like, the ring? Oh hell yeah, man. I've had this thing in my pocket since 2008. And he pulls it out. Pepper sees it. Her eyes get all wide and she just goes, you know what? Don't worry about it. I think I can come up with something a little better than that, And Tony's like, well, come on, seriously, it might buy us some time. She's like, nah, I got this. She walks back into the room. Tony starts walking in behind her, turns around to Happy, holds his hand out. Happy flips the ring at him like a coin in the air.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to Peter back at home, and he walks into his bedroom. On his bed is a big brown paper bag, and in it is his suit. Not the new space age suit, just his normal Spider-Man suit. And he's like, oh, hell yeah. And he puts it on. And I might add, when he puts on the Spider-Man suit, it's like a big baggy potato sack until he taps the spider on the chest, and then it gets all tight. So he does that, and he's wearing the whole suit, but he's not wearing the mask. And then the camera pans around, and we see Aunt May is in the doorway looking at him, and she just goes, what the fuck? And then the credits roll.
All right, not bad.
Yeah. Credits are done to the tune of Blitzkrieg Bop by the Ramones. So it's a pretty cool movie ending.
Old rock.
Yeah. All right, so checking mediastinger.com, I find that we have a mid-credit stinger and a post-credit stinger. The mid-credit one begins in a big old prison. Okay, and we see Beetlejuice in his jumpsuit, just walking along the hallways and all the bars and other inmates.
I wonder where a guy, an everyday Joe like myself, could find a little action.
Passing him in the hallway is that bald asshole from the ferry who wanted to make the weapons deal with him, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, Beetlejuice. Yeah, I remember you. Okay, hey, check this out. So I heard that you had a bunch of bullshit going on with that Spider-Man asshole. Okay, I hate him too. And a whole bunch of my friends on the outside. They don't like him either, and we want to get together and kill that motherfucker. And word has it, you know who he is. At this point, we see a scorpion tattoo on this guy's neck. So he is being set up to be the Scorpion. So then Beetlejuice, it shows him, and he's like, if I knew who he was, he'd already be dead. And then that stinger ends. So, Beetlejuice obviously has a code of honor because Spider-Man saved his life from the explosion.
Yeah. Well, good for him.
So yeah, he's like still an awesome guy.
All right.
All right, so we sit there for a while, me and Heather, waiting for the post-credit stinger. And when it arrives, it is simply a white screen, and walks into it Captain America. Just like he's filming another educational video. And he's like, hi, everybody. I'm here to talk to you about one of our most valuable qualities, and that is patience. Sometimes you could just wait and wait for something that you think is just going to be amazing, and then you find that it's totally not worth it. Yeah, so it's like a total worthless stinger. And then Captain America looks off camera and he goes, how many more of these do we have to do? And then it just says across the screen, Spider-Man will return. And then that's it, man.
All right.
There you have it. Spider-Man Homecoming on Movies with Ron.
All right.
What'd you think, Rick?
Thought it was pretty good. I like that Michael Keaton was the bad guy. Good bad guy.
Yeah, he was good. Because he was a bad guy, but still, you love him.
Oh, yeah. He's like a dad. And he was a dad.
He was indeed. And that is why the villain of this movie did not take the love interest hostage. Like in your normal Spider-Man flick.
Did he wear headphones and a yellow jacket?
He was wearing the yellow jacket is the academic decathlon uniform. All right, so he had it with him when he got locked in the warehouse, and that was when he was Spider-Man in his yellow jacket. And he was just laying up on top of the containers asking Karen, should I tell Liz who Spider-Man is?
All right, folks. If you're using Apple Podcasts, why don't you go ahead and leave us a rating and review? We got Twitter and Instagram at Movies with Ron. There's a Facebook page. Check us out. It's been fun.
All right, love you.
Take care, everybody.
Nice fucking model!
Movies with Ron.
Oh, come on, man. You smoke too much. You drink. Man, you
a pain in the ass. Ace Ventura.
You take breaks too much. You smoke too much.
What?
Man, you a pain in the ass.
Shady Acres. He was looking for
Ace was trying to
Finkel's
fucking
stuff.
stuff himself into that box because that employee was coming in.
Oh, yeah.
And then he's like totally not going to be able to pull it off. And then that conversation happens and the guy leaves. Man, you a pain in the ass.
I can't believe you guys remember that.
And then he just goes.